I go back to the heartbreaking, tragic testimony we heard from Ms. Brazel regarding the murder of her husband in front of his own home by a group of organized juvenile criminals with records.
They all had criminal history and were on probation at the time of the crime. Specifically, the shooter had been just released from probation in April of 2023.
And the point that we're going to focus on is that the gun that was used in that crime was stolen from a family member who was negligently storing it. That's all we're going to do. Now, this law, this bill, if it is signed into law, if enacted prior to that crime, would have done absolutely nothing. Nothing at all to prevent that from happening. What it might have done after the fact is provided an opportunity for a prosecutor to charge the family member whose gun was stolen, the victim of a theft, charge them with a felony. Could have done that. But I suppose it would have depended upon whether or not the prosecutor in question thought that prosecuting such an individual might have a negative impact upon their disparity statistics. I guess we'll never know. But one thing we do know is that if those criminals were off the street, that murder would not have occurred. That's where our focus should be in this committee, in dealing with the people who perpetrate crime and getting them out of society so that we no longer have to endanger our loved ones, rather than making it, as has been stated by our witnesses, an encumbrance to own a firearm for the purposes of self-defense.
These laws target benign conduct and are about stigmatizing and encumbering law-abiding gun owners and placing restrictions on how responsible parents can introduce their children to firearms and the shooting sports. As with all gun control, the overreaching goal is to discourage gun ownership and eventually eliminate it.
You know, along those lines, if we imagine there's a farmer in Aiken who for 60 years has kept a firearm in his entryway, loaded or unloaded, to fend off his wildlife from predators, doesn't have a kid in the house, he lives alone, doesn't have anybody else visiting. That's the way that he's just lived and protected his livestock for years. That's a very different approach to what would be a negligent approach for a daycare operator in Apple Valley. Clearly, that would be something that would require action. Moreover, the bill doesn't have any educational components, so that same farmer that I was talking about would immediately face a criminal penalty without any knowledge, because I'm certain he's probably not watching this hearing today.